Hello everyone, welcome to Bambi Reads Books. My name is Amanda. To start off with a book haul, last month was my birthday month, so there is quite a few books that I have acquired since last time we spoke. The first one that I'm adding to the TBR box is the first in the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. This is House of Earth and Blood, and I have book 1 and 2 at this point. I do not have book 3, but I will get it eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the TBR. The next one up on the book haul is The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. Hazel Trepus has always known she wasn't like her siblings. A 13th child promised to one of the gods, she spent her childhood waiting for her benefactor, Merrick, the god of death, to arrive and take her away. When he does, he lays out exactly what he's planning for Hazel's future. She will become a great and celebrated healer. To aid her endeavors, Merrick blesses Hazel with the gift, the ability to instantly deduct the exact cure needed to treat the sick. But all gifts come with a price. Hazel can see when death has claimed a patient and is tasked with ending their suffering permanently. Haunted by the ghosts of those she kills, Hazel longs to run, but destiny brings her to the royal court where she meets Leopold, a rakish prince with a disdain for everyone and everything. And that's when Hazel faces her biggest dilemma yet. Should she save the life of a king marked to die? Hazel knows what she is meant to do and what her heart is urging her towards. But what will happen if she goes against the will of death himself? From the astonishing mind of Erin A. Craig comes a breathtaking fairy tale retelling readers have been waiting for. What does a life well lived mean, and how do we justify the impossible choices we make for the ones we love? That's The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. The next book that we ordered that came in is Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alica Thompson. PhD candidate Phoebe Walsh has always been obsessed with true crime. She has even analyzed the genre in her dissertation, if she can manage to finish writing it. It's hard to find time while she spends the summer in Florida cleaning out her childhood home, dealing with her obnoxious, good-natured younger brother, and grappling with the complicated feelings of mourning a father she hadn't had a relationship with for years. It doesn't help that she's low-key convinced that her new neighbor, Sam Dennings, is a serial killer. He may dress business casual by day, but at night he's clearly up to something. It's not long before Phoebe realizes that Sam might be something much scarier, a genuinely nice guy who can pierce her armor to reach her vulnerable heart. The next one is Bunny by Mona Awad. A scholarship student who prefers the company of her dark imagination to that of most people, Samantha Heather McKay is utterly repelled by the rest of her graduate fiction writer cohorts at New England's elite Warren University, a clique of unbearably saccharine yet sinister rich girls who have called each other Bunny and seem to move and speak as one. But everything changes when Samantha receives an invitation to the Bunny's fabled smut salon and finds herself implicitly drawn to their front door, ditching her only friend, Ava, in the process. As Samantha plunges deeper and deeper into the Bunny's world and begins to take part in their monstrous experiments, the edge of reality begins to blur. Soon her friendships with Ava and the Bunnies will be brought into deadly collision. Next up is Rewitched, and this is Believing in Yourself is Its Own Kind of Magic by Lucy Jane Wood. In the spellbinding, warm and cozy debut novel, a burned-out witch will need to turn to her friends and trust herself to find the magic in her own life again. Belladonna Blackthorn hasn't lost her magical spark, precisely, but she hasn't seen it in a while either. With her witchcraft under wraps and toxic boss making her days miserable, Bella is struggling to keep her beloved lunar books afloat and just make it through the day. The last thing she has time for is perfecting her magic. So when her 13th birthday brings a summoning from her coven, a trial that tests her worthiness as a witch, Bella fears the worst. With only the month of October left to either prove herself or risk losing her magic forever, Bella will need all the help she can get from the women in her life, from an unlikely mentionable figure, and even from an infuriating coven watchman who's sworn to protect her. The Big Door Prize by M.O. Walsh. What would you do if you knew your life's potential? That's the question facing the residents of Deerfield, Louisiana, when the Dynamix machine appears in their local grocery store. It's nothing to look at, really. It resembles a plain photo booth, but its promise is amazing. With just a quick swab of your cheek and $2, the device claims to use science of DNA to tell you your life's destiny. With enough credibility to make the townspeople curious, the machine soon has the teachers, nurses, shopkeepers of Deerfield abruptly changing courses to pursue their new destinies as magicians, cowboys, and athletes, including Douglas Hubbard, and his wife Sherilyn, with those who believe they were perfectly happy until they realized they could dream for more. Written with the linguistic grace and sense of wonder, The Big Door Prize sparkles with keen observation about what it might be to stay true to oneself while honoring the bounds of marriage, friendship, community, even under the strangest of circumstances. The Big Door Prize by Emma Walsh. The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore. When a secret message turns up hidden in a book in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, Hazel can't understand it. As more secret codes appear between the pages, she decides to follow the trail of clues. She just needs someone to help her out. Gorgeous and outgoing fisherman Noah is always up for adventure, and scavenger hunt sounds like a lot of fun. Even better that the cute bookseller he's been crushing on for months is the one who wants his help. Hazel didn't go looking for romance, but as the treasure hunt leads her and Noah around Dream Harbor, their undeniable chemistry might just be as hot as the fresh out of the oven cinnamon buns the bookstore sells. InstaMom by Chantel Guertin. It's the influencer's golden rule. Know your niche. Kit Kidding has found hers on Instagram, where she gets paid to promote brands and share expertly curated posts about her fun, fabulous, child-free life. Kit likes kids just fine, but she passionately believes that women who choose not to become mothers shouldn't have to face guilt or judgment. Our really hot chef who turns out to be single dad. Will McGregor is aggravating, sexy, persistent, averse to social media, and definitely a bad idea. As soon as Kit learns his parenting status, she vows to put her scorching one-night stand behind her and move on. But Will and Kit are thrown together on an Instagram campaign, and the more time she spends with him and his whip-smart 8-year-old daughter, Addie, the more difficult it is to stay away, much less sustain that Will so cleverly calls her resting beach face. Kit's picture-perfect career path is suddenly clashing with the possibility of a different future. Messy, complicated, and real, which life does she truly want? Will she have to reinvent herself, and will love still be waiting by the time she figures it out? InstaMom by Chantel Guertin. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. When a teenager vanishes from her Adirondack summer camp, two worlds collide. Early morning, August 1975, a camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupants, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old girl. She is the daughter of the family that owns the summer camp and employs most of the regional's residents. And this isn't the first time a Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother similarly vanished 14 years ago, never to be found. As panic search begins, a thrilling drama unfolds, chasing down the layered mystery of the Van Laar family and the blue-collar community living and working in its shadow. More multi-threaded story invites readers into a rich and gripping dynasty of secrets. Liz Moore's most ambitious and wide-reach novel yet, The Gods of the Woods, is a story of inheritance and second chances, the tension between a family and a community, and a history that will not let any of them go. The next book that's going in the TBR box is the second in the Kingbridge series by Ken Follett, and it is World Without End, and it is a big one, just like the first one. And I am very excited to see what happens with the cathedral, if it's still being ran by, I believe we're on the third generation of the family now, to see if they're continue on with the building or if the building gets passed on to somebody else and where like the political things stand. I want to know if the women kind of just keep disappearing into the forest because they don't want to do with the men in the church, because that seems to be the theme the last 2 generations or so. So it'll be interesting to see how that all played out. I have 2 more books for the book haul for September. The next one is the Dreamkeeper Saga by Kathryn Butler, and this is the first book, The Dragon and the Stone. Welcome to the Dreamkeeper Saga, an exciting adventure steeped in magic, mystery, and glimmers of hope. When 12-year-old Lily McKinley discovers a dragon eating her dinner at her late father's stone pendant glowing like fire around her neck, she tells herself it's only her imagination. Then one day she is transported to a new dimension filled with evil shrouds, harpies, and other magical creatures, and realizes she embarks on an unbelievable quest with everything she cherishes at stake. Join Lily and her friends as they fight to rescue the world from evil and the first adventure of the Dreamkeeper Saga. The last one being added to the TBR box this week is going to be When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, and this is book 1 in the Moonfall series. As an assassin for the rebellion group Fur du Oth, Rave's job is to complete orders and never get caught. When a rival bounty hunter turns her world upside down, blood spills, heart breaks, and Rave finds herself imprisoned by the Guild of Nobles, a group of powerful fae who turn her into a political statement. Crushed by the loss of his great love, Cain Vagor took the head of a king and donned his melted crown. Now on a tireless quest to quell the never-ebbing ache in his chest, a clue lures him into a Capitol High security prison where he stumbles upon the imprisoned Rave. Echoes of the past race between them, There's more to their story than meets the eye, but some truths are too poisonous to swallow. And it looks like it has dragons in it. I'm very excited. So those are the books that will be going into the TBR box. There are 4 audiobooks that I'm currently listening to as well, and those I didn't put in the TBR box because I generally have 3 or 4 going. It's something I listen to at nighttime, when the lights are off or when I'm doing the dishes, kind of thing, when I go on walks, things like that. So currently I'm listening to The Bookshop by Evan Friss, A History of the American Bookstores, an affectionate, engaging history of the American bookstore and its central place in America's cultural life. From department stores to indies, from highbrow dealers trading in first editions to sidewalk vendors, and from chains to special interest community destinations. Bookstores have always been unlike any other kind of store, shaping readers and writers and influencing our tastes, thoughts, and politics. They nurture local communities while creating new ones of their own. Bookshops are powerful places, but they are also endangered ones. In the bookshop, we see the stakes, what has been, and what might be lost. Evans Friss's History of the Bookshop draws an oral history, archival collection, municipal records, diaries, letters, and interviews with leading booksellers to offer a fascinating look at this institutional beloved by so many. The story begins with Benjamin Franklin's first bookstore in Philadelphia and takes us to a range of booksellers, including a strange Chicago Marshall Field and Company, the Gotham Bookmark, specialty stores like Oscar Wilde and Drum and Spear, sidewalk sellers of used books, Barnes & Noble's, Amazon Books, and Parnassus. The Bookshop is also a history of leading figures in America's bookselling, often impassionate, eccentric, and a history of how books have been marketed and sold over the course of more than 2 centuries, including, for example, a 3,000-pound elephant who signed books at Marshall's Fields in 1944. The Bookshop is a love letter to bookstores, a charming chronicle for many who cherish these sanctuaries of literature, and essential listening to understanding how these vital institutions have shaped America's lives and how we still need them. And so far, I am on chapter 6, and I'm very much enjoying it up to this point, and I am going to be finishing it. Hopefully, I'll have more to talk to you about next time. The next audiobook I'm listening to is part of the Cirque du Freak series by Darren Shan. I believe it is book number 6, and it is Hunters of the Dusk. After 6 years of living in Vampire Mountain, Darren Shan, the vampire prince, leaves on a life and death mission as part of an elite force. Darren searches the world for a Vampanese lord who is determined to lead his forces to victory against the vampires. But the road ahead is long and dangerous and lined with bodies of the damned. Hunters of the Dusk is the start of an action-packed 3-part Darren Shan adventure, a tale of quest, friendship, treachery, despair, and bloodshed. That sounds like it's actually going to be the start of the war between the vampires and the vampires. Like it's officially starting. The next one I am listening to is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and this one is about Keela, a librarian, and her plant, Kaz, who is actually enchanted and who can talk, and who is very afraid of being eaten by a fish. So they are having to flee due to a fire at the library, and they're going back to the rural community where she was born and where her parents moved. I believe when she was 9, they moved to the city, so she's going back to the old cottage where her parents raised her initially, started raising her before they moved to the city. So we're going to see, so far, the only person that's shown up is a very handsome neighbor. So we will see what happens from there. And if her and Kaz find a happy home there, or if they have to move on, we'll see what happens. I wonder if she's going to open up a bookstore. She probably will. Here's the synopsis for the Bookshop. Keela has always had trouble dealing with people. Thankfully, as a librarian at the Great Library of Elysium, she hasn't had to. She and her assistant, Kaz, a magical sentient spider plant, have spent the last 11 years sequestered among the Empire's most precious spellbooks, preserving their magic from the city's elite. But when a revolution begins and the library goes up in flames, she and Kaz save as many books as they can carry and flee to the faraway island Keela was sure she'd never return to, her childhood home. Keela hopes to lay low on the overgrown and overrun cottage her late parents left her and figure out a way to survive without the drawing of attention to either the Empire or the Revolution. Much to her dismay, in addition to the noise and very handsome neighbors, she finds the town neglected and in a state of disrepair. The Empire, for all its magic and power, has been neglected for years, the people who depend on magical intervention to maintain healthy livestock and crops. Not only that, the very magic that should be helping them has been created destructive storms that have taken a toll on the island. Due to her past role at the library, Keela feels partially responsible for this, and now she's determined to find a way to make things right by opening the island's first ever secret spell shop. Her plan comes with risks. The consequences of sharing magic with commoners is death. As Keela comes to make a plan for herself among the kind and quirky townspeople of her former home, she realizes that in order to make a life for her, she must learn to break down the walls she has built up so high. Like a Hallmark rom-com full of mythical creatures and fueled by cinnamon rolls and magic, Sarah Beth Durst, the spell shop, will heal your heart and feed your soul. This is our first video for October, so I just feel like that's so fitting for fall, right? Cozy books. I'm actually new to cozy rom-coms, and I'm really loving them. So I think that this is going to be a predicted very high star rating for me, but we will see how the story goes. So I love plants, right? Any other plant mamas and daddies out there? We love our plants. Last audiobook I'm listening to is The Japanese Lover by Isabella Landi. In 1939, as Poland falls under the shadow of the Nazi, young Alma Belasco's parents send her away to live in the safety with aunt and uncle in their opulent mansion in San Francisco. There, as the rest of the world goes to war, they encounter Ishmael Fukada, the quiet and gentle son of the family's Japanese gardener. Unnoticed by those around them, a tender love affair begins to blossom. Following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the two are cruelly pulled apart as Ashima and his family, like thousands of other Japanese Americans, are declared enemies and forcibly relocated to intermediate camps run by the United States government. Throughout the lifetimes, Alma and Ishmael reunite, but theirs is a love that they are forever forced to hide from the world. Decades later, Alma is near the end of her long and eventful life. Irina Bazil, a care worker, struggles to come to terms with her own troubling past, meets the elder woman and her grandson Seth at San Francisco's charming, eccentric Lark Housing nursing home. As Irene and Seth forge a friendship, they become intrigued by a series of mysterious gifts and letters sent to Alma, eventually learning about Ishimi and this extraordinary secret passion that has endured for nearly 70 years. Sweeping through time and spanning generations and continents, the Japanese lover explores questions of identity, abandonment, redemption, and unknown impacts of fate on our lives. Written with the same attention to historical detail and kept understanding of her characters that Isabella Landi has been known for since her landmark first novel, The House of the Spirits. The Japanese Lover is profoundly moving tribute to the constancy of the human heart in a world of unceasing change. I think I'm going to cry. I think that one's going to make me cry. So that is the historical fiction for this round, is The Japanese Lover by Isabella Landi. The next two things I want to talk about, there's the introduction to a book club book that I have signed up for. It is called Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. After Tova Sullivan's husband dies, she begins working the night shift at the Sal Bay Aquarium. Mopping floors and tidying up. Keeping busy has always helped her cope, which she's been doing since her 18-year-old son, Eric, mysteriously vanished on a boat in the Puget Sound over 30 years ago. Tova becomes acquainted with curmudgeonly Marcellus, a giant Pacific octopus living at the aquarium. Marcellus knows more than anyone can imagine, but wouldn't dream of lifting one of his 8 arms for his human captor until he forms a remarkable friendship with Tova. Ever the detective, Marcellus deducts what happened the night Tova's son disappeared, and now Marcellus must use every trick his old invertebrate body can muster to unearth the truth for her before it's too late. Shelby Van Pelt's debut novel is a gentle reminder that someone's taking a hard look at the past can help uncover the future that once felt impossible. So she solves her son's disappearance with an octopus. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure. Like, this is why book clubs are so good, because generally I probably wouldn't have been like, this is it. But because there's a book club, I'm going to read it, and maybe I will love it, and it will open me up to new things, right? It's good to grow. We're growing. So that is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, and that will be mid-month that I will be finishing that book and discussing it with you guys and with the book club. The 3 books that were pulled out of the TBR box this round are That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming, and this one I was about halfway through, so it shouldn't take too long. I should have a review for us by next round. We'll see. So far it is about a human who finds a demon, and she's like, oh, let me move you from all this rubble. And then he's like, hey, you know those temples and that goddess that you worship? He's like, that's fake. And they go and destroy a temple. And she's like, wow, you were right. And then he doesn't really give her a choice. He's like, okay, now we're going to go take down all the other temples. So, and then it turns into like a little love affair, I'm assuming, at some point. So it's starting to get a little spicy. It's very subtle. Like, it just kind of like, la la, they're going along, and then boom, like all of a sudden he's very flirty. So we'll see how that one plays out. I will be reading Isabella Landi by Eva Luna again this year. And it is a beautiful historical fiction. There's tons of things going on, but I just have to say, like, the depth of the characters and how they interact and how I emotionally got invested in it. I just love the time period of the book as well. Like, it's just the coziest, saddest, most beautiful thing that I have read. And I give it 5 stars every year. So I haven't changed my mind so far. So if you want to read a beautiful historical fiction, Eva Luna by Isabel Allende is another one. And The Japanese Lover is also by her. Here is the synopsis for Eva Luna. Eva Luna is the daughter of a professional assistant in the snake-bitten gardener, born poor, orphaned at an early age and working as a servant. Eva is naturally gifted and imaginatively storyteller who meets people from all stations and walks of life. Though she has no wealth, she trades her stories like currency with people who are kind to her. As she shares the stories of her life, Eva introduces readers to diverse and eccentric cast of characters, including a Lebanese immigrant who befriends her and takes her in, her unfortunate godmother who believes in all the Catholic saints and a few of her own inventions, a street urchin who grows into a pretty criminal, and later a leader in the guerrilla struggle, a celebrated transsexual entertainer who instructs her in the ways of the adult world, and a young refugee whose flight from post-war Europe will prove crucial to Eva's fate. As Eva tells her story, Isabel Allende conjures up an entire complex South American nation, the rich, the poor, and the simple, and the sophisticated, in a novel replete with characters and incidents, with drama, comedy, history, with battles and passion, rebellions and reunions, a novel that celebrates the power of imagination to create a better world. That is Eva Luna by Isabel Allende. The next one that was pulled out of the TBR box, the 3 of 3, was Sarah J. Maas's Crescent City, Book 1, and this is House of Earth and Blood, and these are big. So it's going to probably take some time, but I'm going to do it, and I'm thinking about turning it into a book club. So if you're interested in reading Crescent City, Sarah J. Maas, we could do like an Instagram group chat or something similar to that. So if you're interested in reading Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas with me, let me know. I'm probably going to end up splitting it up into chapters and talking about it as I go. So if you want to catch those videos, I'll let you know once I start reading it and make a schedule, and I will share my journey with you. And if you want to join the journey, feel free. Half fae, half human, Bryce Quinlan loves her life. Every night is a party, and Bryce is going to savor all the pleasures Lointhian, also known as Crescent City, has to offer. But then a brutal murder shakes the very foundation of the city, and Bryce's world comes crashing down. 2 years later, Bryce still haunts the city's most notorious nightclub, seeking only oblivion, now trying to put the past behind her. When the murderer attacks again, and an infamous fallen angel, Hunt Athaler, is assigned to watch her every footstep, Bryce knows she cannot forget any longer. As Bryce and Hunt fight to unravel the mysteries, the threads they tug ripple through the underbelly of the city, across warring continents, and down to the deepest levels of hell, where things that have been sleeping for millennia are beginning to stir. The 3 books that I was reading from the last time we spoke, last Thursday, I have not made a lot of progress on. So I'm going to really have to knuckle down and read. And it's just because I've been getting distracted with household chores because everybody's been back at school. No excuses, but like I'm just like, I can get so much done when they're gone that I haven't been sitting down and like reading and doing all my cozy things. So I am going to get back in the habit of doing that. So don't worry, I will catch up. I'm not dropping any books. I'm carrying on all of them, and I'm going to finish them. There will be no dropping books this time. So the first one that I was reading, and this one I'm reading with my daughter, she is 8, so this is taking a little longer because she falls asleep after like 1 or 2 chapters at bedtime. So it is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, and we are currently on chapter 9, so not too far into the book. And so far, Gemma Doyle has left India. She with her grandmother. Her father's not doing so well mentally, so her grandmother decides to send her to a finishing school, Spence Academy, which is where her mother went before all of this happened. Her mother went when she was younger, and she's learning that there are a lot of secrets at this school. Like part of the building is burnt down, and they just like lock up that part of the building and just don't talk about it, don't go in there. There's girls that are kind of like the it girls, and they're kind of bullying her. She finds out that there is an Indian man who's following her as like her protector, but also as like telling her not to do the magical things that she can't help not doing. So there's a lot going on, a lot of setup, and it's really just getting introduced to the Spence Academy, the school where she is going to be for, I'm assuming, quite a while. Quite a bit of the story. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully we'll make some more progress on that this next one. The Demon King and I have not gotten very far. So far, there's a handsome Demon King. She's in charge of the demon realm. This one sister is. And so she got called to go meet the new demon. It wasn't a good time. She goes back, and she's interested in her mom's bread pudding. That's what she's excited about. Gets called, gets interrupted to go meet the Demon King. And we'll see what happens. So I guess like the realm that she controls, there's a group of sisters, and each one controls a different realm. She got the demons and new demon leader. So we'll see where that leads us. I have not actually started Wormwood by Susan Whitten Albert. I read about 3 pages of it and fell asleep and then didn't pick it up again. So I will be restarting Wormwood, and I will be trying to finish The Demon King and I, along with finishing up That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. So hopefully I will have reviews for these 3 by next Thursday when we meet again. And I should have a book club schedule out for Crescent City if you want to read that with me. And I am going to be reading this in my leisure time, right? Eva Luna, when I feel like it. I'm reading A Great and Terrible Beauty for bedtime with my daughter. So that will get finished when it gets finished. And I have about 14, 15 days to finish Remarkably Bright Creatures. So I think that what I'm going to do is sit down and make myself a little daily reading goals for the next 15 days or so and see if I can stick to it and bust through the books. I love reading, and it's not that I don't love it. It's just getting myself to sit down and pick up the book. Once I pick up the book, I can read for hours. It's just getting myself to initially sit down and put the time aside to do it. So that will be happening. I will be starting this TBR, so look forward to reviews hopefully next week. A book club schedule if you'd like to virtually discuss and talk about Crescent City as we read it together, or just as I read it. Eva Luna, A Wonderful Story, if you have the time. It's a reread for me every fall. A Great and Terrible Beauty, I'm reading with my daughter, so that one's beautiful too. Libre, it's one of 3 of the series. And then Remarkably Bright Creatures by Sarah Van Pelt, and that is for a book club hosted by Autumn Leaf Bookstore and Lane Sellers. And that is just local here, but I will let you know what I think of the book and kind of what other people talked about during the meeting, and hopefully I'll have an update for you in a week or 2 about that one. So this is my TBR. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you have any similar reads that you love. Is there a book that you reread every fall? And if you've gotten all the way to the end, let's leave a pumpkin this time. Can you leave a pumpkin emoji for me? I'd very much appreciate it. Let me know that you finished the whole video. And I will see you guys next Thursday. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to reading with you. There will be a reading sprint video posted on Saturday, so if you want to read with me by the Columbia River, I did go down, and we do have a beautiful video of that. There's even a little bunny in there. So I hope to see you again on Saturday, and besides that, have a great rest of your week.